I'm Alexis, CEO of WeTransact, and today I'm so excited to introduce you to one of our newest ally members across the her ecosystem, Allison Byers. She's the CEO and founder of Scroobious. Hi, Allison. How are you today?
Hi, Alexis. I am doing great. How about you?
Great. We're here in San Francisco. Where are you at with Scroobious?
I'm outside Boston, so quite far away.
Nice, nice. So a little different time zone, but thank goodness we're remote and everybody can watch this whenever is a good time for them. Love to just kick off. Let's share with everybody in the ecosystem, what is Scroobious? First of all, we'll just start there so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I'll go back a little bit before Scroobious and give you my origin story, and then what we're doing. Because I founded Scroobious right before COVID hit, just a month before COVID came to be. So that was fun timing to start a company. But before then, I had launched and was co-running a startup medical device company where I was the one primarily responsible for fundraising. So that was a very defining experience for me. We did raise almost 10 million over the course of 5 years, with going from our friends and family through an A prime with a grant in there and bridges and all those fun financing things. But for me, I was caught off guard by the challenges I faced fundraising as a woman. And I am used to being the only woman in the room. That's not new to me. But the challenges and the biases that I experienced firsthand did catch me off guard. And it was something I hadn't experienced before. So that company was acquired and it really stuck with me. I thought, I faced all these challenges and I come from a place of advantage. And I do have a lot already going for me in this process of fundraising. Of course, women get 2% or less of VC dollars and people of color get a fractional percent. Of course, everything's working against us. And so I became very passionate about the area and thought, where can I help? What role can I play in doing something in this space? And for me, founder education was a very clear need in how you approach the fundraising process, how you put together a pitch that will resonate with investors, both in terms of the material, not just the aesthetics, but the content of your pitch and your delivery, how you're giving that in a way that will be compelling to investors, because it isn't intuitive. It isn't common knowledge, particularly if you don't come from that background, or if you come from an academic background or scientific, or you have something complicated to explain, or even if you don't, it's difficult to know how to put your story in that format, but it is completely teachable. You don't have to go get an MBA. You don't have to go through an accelerator if this is what you need. Just help telling your story in the right way and getting to be a person in front of that investor who is also a person. So it's understanding human nature. And so that's where we've started with our Pitch It plan, or we call it PIP, is making this type of education and guidance scalable, approachable, affordable for anybody who needs it, so that you can really get both access to asynchronous online education and tools, practical tools to help you, and personalized feedback from a human who knows what you're going through. And that's what we combine. So that's what we've done. For founders, we've worked with about 200 to date, which is fantastic, really organic growth. And that's what we're doing.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things we love about what you're doing. First of all, thank you for taking such a pain point and the journey that you had to go on to really have this become your next mission. I think, that speaks a lot to where you're coming from, why you created Scroobious. I feel like I wish I had this a few years ago when I was going through similar pain points. So as soon as I saw what you were doing, I saw it on Instagram. Like you said, it's totally organic. I was excited to connect with you as well and to learn about what you're doing. And we really, really do appreciate having somebody who's been in the trenches before. Like, I think that really makes what you're doing so unique, is that it's a founder, understanding a founder, but it's also understanding from the other side of the table, from the investor side. And that love language, being able to frame it in the right way. Also important. Thank you from all of us founders who have gone through it or about to go through it. This is such a great opportunity, and why we have, of course, Allison here today as an ally in the ecosystem, because she gets it. And you keep it really human. I love that. That one-to-one. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, okay, once a founder logs in, what the experience is, what they can come to expect? I love the fact that you've combined the technology with human. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I think it's really critical. And, part of what we produce, I hope people take what they create through our program and use it as much as they can wherever they can, because there are so many platforms out there that are geared toward fundraising, and crowdfunding is having a moment. And there's so many ways that you can generate capital these days, but they don't have that education piece. They just ask you to put up your material as you have it. And if you don't know that right way to put it together, or you're missing that right information that makes you look credible in the eyes of the check holders, is really damaging to you, right? To have that out there. And that's where I think having access to tools in a community like we're providing is, whether it's us or somewhere else, it's just so important.
Go get it. Yes. Go find that community. Take that time. You only get one first impression.
Yeah, you do. And it can be really disheartening to get so many no's to begin with. And if those no's are preventable by giving the right information or presenting yourself in the right way, you owe it to yourself to do that and make sure that you are doing it right. And you're not just really quick going out there. Fundraising is not a fail fast activity. It's a thoughtful activity. It's different than how you're maybe building your company, because it's relationship based. And you're right. We're all humans, and it's understanding the psychology of how people perceive you and what you're presenting that is so important in successfully raising capital. It's a very different skill set. So for founders who sign up with us, we have a web application where there are a lot of micro lessons, so little 1 to 3 minute videos and templates you can download for things that are often daunting, like how you build a bottom-up market size. Yeah. It's approachable. You can do it. It's not.
I love it.
Anyone can do it. So you can access this online platform at any time and get all the material, all the resources, so you can learn at your own pace. And again, do it asynchronously. There are a lot of challenges for particularly parent entrepreneurs in accessing incubators or accelerators that demand synchronous time, or even now back to in-person time, makes them not accessible. And that's just another blocker to entering that world of effective fundraising. So everything is available at your own pace. We have a Slack community of all our founders, right? So you can establish peer connections where our team is in there all the time. And then along the way of building out your deck and your presentation through this program, we have 3 touch points of personalized feedback. 2 of them are written comments, like tons of direct feedback, the kind of feedback you wish investors would give you, but they don't.
From them and you just wonder why.
Yeah, it's so hard when you don't get that feedback. So my whole style is very direct, very concrete, helpful, like do these specific things, tactical things you can change quickly that are realistic. And then we also offer a one-on-one Zoom session, so you can do your whole presentation and get feedback on that element as well. Everything's in this one package for our founders, that when you sign up for an account, you have that, and you're in our community for as long as you want to be.
That's amazing. And it's so valuable. I mean, on so many levels. You're building confidence, you're building clarity, you're working on the skills. Because, for example, the way that I talk here, when we're having fun, we're connecting, that's one voice. But when I'm on a call with an investor, it has to shift, so they hear you. And it is important to know that. Sometimes people don't get to see that, or maybe learn the hard way like we all did. We didn't have necessarily all this knowledge. So for you to put this up front, so that people can really, of course, take it upon themselves to present themselves in the best possible way, and to have a community to support. Was that something for you as a founder? You wish you had more of a community where you could do this? Is that because I feel like you understand it's more than just education. It's also the community support. And I think that's an important part.
It totally is. And yeah, I wish I had had that. I think, especially, I work with a lot of first time founders. You just don't know how isolating it is and how you wish you had other people who knew what you were going through. Right. I was very fortunate in my last company to have a woman that I ran it with. We co-ran it and we could be each other's support. And I'm so fortunate for that. And we had very different and complementary skill sets. But when you're, even if you do have that, I didn't have that community of other founders, which is critical. They're your peers. They're they're like your coworkers basically, because you're not going to have another equal in your company if you're the founder, the founder and CEO, or the one pitching. The one pitching is the one, it's very isolating to do that on your own. But the piece that, I think really is the most important that you picked up on is that authenticity and that firsthand experience that I have, that my team has, that all our founders now in this group have. There is no way to replicate feeling the bias and the challenges that you do as an underrepresented founder, no matter how you identify as underrepresented. You can't explain some of that to somebody. And it's not just the content of your deck. That is important in doing the work behind it. But what's behind that presentation element is having the confidence in what you're presenting and understanding that you control some of the power dynamic, right? And that's part of what community provides is, as that underrepresented founder, you're so used to feeling less than and asking people for things. And then when you're asking for money and you're asking a traditional investor for money, you immediately shrink and you don't talk the way we're talking to each other. You don't talk with your full confidence, right? You immediately kind of go inward. So part of it is just practicing it with people who get what you're going through and understand it and can help you regain that sense of, I'm an equal at the table. And when I'm pitching you, you are going to feel how confident I am.
I feel like I just want to yes. So many things there that are amazing. And yeah, I think that's a huge thing. It's almost like until you've gone through it, it could be with a mock practice with a fellow founder or with you as an expert who's gone through it and a fellow founder. I mean, you're all of it. So until you've experienced the difference, it's hard to communicate too. So that's that human interaction that's really important. I remember the first time I had what I felt like was like a real investor call. Like it was a conversation. I felt respected both ways. Like they were asking me questions. They were respecting what I had to say. It was a back and forth. It was like, oh, this is what it's like. This is what it's supposed to feel like. And I was like, oh, it would have been great to know I could be this direct, or I could be this to the point, or I could ask certain things. So you're absolutely right. That power dynamic, knowing what's appropriate, knowing, that it's just a human across the table that you're pitching to.
Yeah.
We're all people. And it seems so simple, but until you practice it and you experience it, there's that I think that's when it clicks. I don't know if it's our monkey brain or what it is, or lizard, where it actually becomes part of you, and you're not just projecting confidence, you feel comfortable in the conversation.
Yes. Yeah, that's the core difference. Is it can't be superficial, but if you're unfamiliar with the world of pitching and startups, and there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so much romanticizing of investors and venture capital that is not always the right answer for everybody to go out and raise your money that way. It can be extremely intimidating, and we don't act like ourselves when we're intimidated. But having not just me, but also knowing other people experience what you do and that it's normal, and sharing in that group experience and giving each other tips and knowing personally someone who has broken through, that gives you confidence in a way that other things don't. Just reading about people who have seen success, who are like you relate to, is different than knowing those people. And so the more that we can know each other and lift each other up in that way, the more successful others will be, because they have that inspiration capital and they know that it can be done.
I love it. And what you're doing expedites it so much faster. So when you have a short runway, or you're bootstrapped, or you're any of the above, you're going to get to where you want to go faster. You're going to get there. You're going to grow faster. You're going to open up so many more opportunities, because a lot of those calls, if you can maximize it, whether they invest in you or not, you're building long-term relationships, because you're coming to the table, presenting your best self. And when there are opportunities, they're going to remember that. More opportunities are going to come your way. So it's like an exponential. You can't always measure it just in investment dollars. I know you've done such an amazing job and are tracking, and that's the primary, because we all have to pay the bills and keep the lights on. I mean, this is a reality of being a business owner and a founder, but there's also this trajectory, this like, okay, the hockey stick. And when that magic growth starts happening, some of it comes from, you started from a great foundation with like a program like yours, Scroobious, and being able to really put those, I always say, plant those seeds, so that those opportunities will like flourish and come your way while you're busy closing and everything. You're building up fans, you're building up clients, you're building up so many other things that help you with your traction. We
Yeah.
love what you're doing.
Hey, I appreciate it. I love what you're doing. I'm so glad to be a partner, but you're right. It's again, it's part of that kind of popular image that people have of how fundraising goes, and you go out and you pitch 1,000 times and you never talk to those people again and you get no's, all that stuff. It's just not how it works, because everybody is just a human, and it is a long game to develop these relationships. And you never know, if you make an impression on somebody, even if they pass, and you maintain a good relationship, they could be critical to you later on. And it's that kind of long-term network building that has historically been blocked for certain types of founders. And it's the difference. It can make the difference in your business, even if it's not now, it could be later. And that's where having the confidence to present also comes from knowing and owning your information, right? And that's the type of content that I focus on with our program. It's not like making a pretty flashy deck. You are not outsourcing this. You have to do it. Because if you don't do your own market sizing and your own projections and your own narrative and storytelling, you will not be confident presenting it, and you will not be prepared to answer questions. So even if you're not a numbers person, right? Like I'm not a numbers person, you will know them if you do them, because it will stick. And then the other side of what you said too is humans are visual learners. We're so much better visually. It's why we use Zoom and not the telephone during this pandemic, right? Like we already have a mode of communication, but we're not using it. We're using Zoom because we're visual. And so if you get the chance, if your pitch can be the gatekeeper, right, to getting a meeting. So if you get that meeting, you will actually, like our biology, you will stick more in that person's brain. They will recall you later in other situations, and when they're thinking of who to introduce to who, just like you said, it's how you enter those circles.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And even this is why we do the interviews. It's one thing to say, hey, this is what Scroobious does, and come across your website, which has all of this great information and it's easy to sign up. But there's something different when you can feel where it's coming from, who's behind it. And I think now more than ever, not just in the pandemic, but just we're in this fourth revolution happening globally, where people want what they're doing to have impact. They want it to mean something. This is not an easy road. Most people who ended up as a founder want to change something in the world. That's pretty darn hard to do. So, knowing you, meeting you today, hearing like where you're coming from, your authenticity, I just think we're so thrilled to be able to share this with the community, because we're picky about the ecosystem. We always say quality, not quantity. And we want people who align with our values. And you just really share all of it. I'm so grateful for you sharing your story, what you're doing. We can't wait to have you on and share what you're doing next, because there's always things, being worked on that are coming next.
Always.
And really, if you have, I would say as a founder watching this, the best way would be go to your website. Like, what would be the next steps? How do they get involved?
Yeah, we've got lots of information on the website, scroobious.com. I know I picked a hard company name. There's a really fun story behind it, but it's scroobious.com. Or I'm super active on Twitter and LinkedIn. There's lots of ways to reach out, and I try as hard as I can to personally respond to everyone who reaches out to me.
And if you're occasionally dyslexic like I am, just click. We'll put the link below. You can just click and it'll get you there.
The good news is with such a funny company name, we're pretty high in the Google. If you search for us, you'll find us.
Well, the good thing about being unique and original is there aren't others out there like you. So I think you're onto something. I like that method. There's a little strategy there as well. Well, Allison, this is so exciting. We're thrilled to have you part of the ecosystem. So this will be popping up into your feed if you are on the WeTransact platform, so you can know, oh, if you're working on something that Allison, of course, could help you with, or Scroobious, or she has other exciting things coming up. We'll be sure to share it with you so that you're the first to know. And of course, we'll help you keep the blinders on so you're really staying focused on what you need to, because the work that you're going to be doing with Allison at Scroobious, like you said, Allison, they have to do the work. So you really need to be focused, put in the time, level yourself up, and then on to the next exciting milestone. But thank you. Anything else you'd like to share before we go?
No, I'm really glad to be part of your ecosystem. I love what you guys are doing and how you're curating the resources that you make available to your founders as well. That's so important to make sure that you're sending them to the right places and they're getting the help that they need. So I think that's great. No, the only other thing I'll add is that just keep a sense of humor about everything. We infuse humor into what we do. Startup life is hard. Like, you were a person before, you will be a person after, no matter what happens. And I just think having that life perspective is so important.
I love that. That's so needed, and we all need to hear that. It's all a good reminder. Well, Allison, this is great. We'll hope to get more of your Founders Real Raise stories shared so we could all continue to pay it forward and promote what you guys are doing. We're excited about it, and if you need anything else, you can reach out to Allison directly. We'll be sharing her LinkedIn, as well as you can go directly to the website and get started.
Awesome. Thanks so much. This was fun.
Thanks, Allison. Great to see you.